So, Tigo, let's continue our session here. As I was telling you, high-level languages include Java and Python and Visual Basic. Last time there was a version of Visual Basic that's called Visual Basic 6. It's no longer used. Most of the code written, there is thousands of lines of code written in Visual Basic 6, and sometimes they still need people to maintain that code. But at the moment, Microsoft already created Visual Basic .NET, and that is the one that is mostly used now. So, okay, what about Java? So Java had been created a long time ago. It was used to build many systems on the enterprises, on the big corporations. At the moment, recently, it started to move to mobile programming. So I would say like 7 years ago, most of the code written in mobile and Android mobile application was written in Java. And now they started to use another language. So they started shifting away from Java to Kotlin, something called Kotlin. Okay. Okay. Now we go from Java. Yeah. Tell me.
So I was asking, is there a reason why they switched from Java to that other language?
Yes, of course, there is strong reasons. So when they do that, okay, of course, what they want to achieve is to write more code in a shorter time. So they build new languages, same like when the technology and the devices is evolving and becoming more smarter and more smaller and more advanced. So they want the programming language also to be the same. They want to write more code in a shorter time. Okay. So that's why they're moving from Java to something called Kotlin. So Kotlin can write same like when I show you the comparison between one line of code that can be written in high-level language and how many lines that we need to write in assembly language to achieve the same result. So that is what is happening. Like for example, I personally have created. Let me share with you. I personally created software that I faced difficulty to find programmers to still maintain the code with me, because I've written most of the base code using Java, and most of the people who's currently doing Android programming, they are doing it in Kotlin. So that's actually a kind of healthcare mobile application that I've used. It is used to care for people in the third world countries. This is to monitor people who have diabetes and try to reduce their potential of developing heart diseases by time. Okay, and we actually even do something with AI here. We included some part of artificial intelligence to try to do some predictions. So normally people who have diabetes, their family members tend to have also potential to develop diabetes, also same like them. So but this happen in stages. So they come into a pre-diabetes stage, and then we wanted to say that the AI can predict if the family members are going to into the pre-diabetes stage. So we can, the more you able to predict that, then you are able to try to help them not to fall into their diabetes and become diabetic, because most probably people who become diabetic in 1 or 2 years or 3 years, then they will still remain like that forever. There is no cure. They still need to take medicine, and they still need to care about their health. Okay, and of course the healthcare in third world countries is not the same like US and UK and so advanced that you are able to purchase any packages with a 60 USD per month or something like that. Some people have to travel from their village maybe 2 or 3 hours just to see a doctor. Okay, so you can imagine that giving them a mobile application that is able to monitor their health, and the people who are in hospitals or nurses and doctors who are in hospitals that is maybe 6 or 7 hours far away from them. They are able to monitor their health, and they're able to advise them of what to do, and they don't necessarily need them to travel all the way back to them. So that's what we're trying to do. So actually that is something in real. So that is, if you see, this is a medical device that is actually not so expensive.
Okay.
So it's like maybe I would say 30% of the cost of advanced devices in US. So that's actually fraction of the price. That device, we are able to make it to talk to the mobile application using Bluetooth. So this small device is able to even act as a mini ICU device beside the patient. So it's still able to monitor every aspect of the health. It can act as an ECG. It can take it can take heart waves for the heart. I don't want you to give you so much details. I'm just giving you a showcase from outside about what can be done here. Okay, so that's an example of what you can do with programming. Okay, and that's if we are talking about mobile application development. Again, if you want to, the same device can be used also to enable the people, the guardians of the patient, to monitor them, to get real-time health measurement, so they can know that, oh, my father is in a good health, or his health is in a critical situation. I need to call somebody or call the hospital. This is just an example. Another example of software applications that also can be used is facial recognition using AI. So if you have a patient, and then you have, actually this was developed at the time of COVID, when people cannot come nearby each other because of COVID infection, right? So
yes,
we make a prototype for something like that, to enable soldiers and people who in charge to wear smart glasses like that, and the smart glasses supposed to be connected to smart watches. The smart watches was able to, I think you have seen that in Apple watches. So it's but that's a different type of watches that is able to measure every aspect of vital health signs of the patient. And then if we have stored, of course, certain places in advanced countries like US and UK, they keep pictures of all the people around. So if we have a stored picture of people in the normal times, and then we are able to connect them to both the smart watches and to even the system that stores their images in the normal situation. If these people pass through accidents, there should be some changes in the face, if you can see. So that's actually the same person, but he have some problem with the head. He have been beaten on the head, and he's in the ICU. So we are able to recognize the name of the patient and all his health signs at the time of COVID, without even coming nearby the patient. That's all can be achieved using AI and smart glasses like that. Okay.
Okay.
And
Yes.
yeah, so that can be done using something called Python and OpenCV libraries called OpenCV. Okay. So now I would say I will not continue here anymore. Let me go back to what I was trying to tell you. That's more near to the syllabus that you need to achieve. So did you hear about okay, so we talked about high level programming language. So again, the Python code that I'm able to put, or to be able to add this 3 variables and store the result here, this is a Python code. So this is a kind of line that I can write. So that's slightly easier. So I just initialize total to 0, and I define 3 variables here, and then I add them together and store the result here in a variable called total, and then I print total at the end. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Okay. So let me move to the next then. Okay. So, okay. I would say, so if you have a problem that you want to solve, let me first, before I define the problem to you, let me know, did you see that flow charts before?
Yes, I've seen the flow charts.
So you know what is mean flow charts?
Yes.
Okay, then that's great. Maybe we need to move to the next. Did you see pseudocode before? Do you know what is?
No.
You haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that? No, I haven't.
Okay, so actually, so people before, so if we have a problem, and then we want to analyze the problem before we actually start to say, oh, we want to start programming. So normally we have many tools to use before we start programming. Big problems happen when developers or programming immediately rush to code. So that's why at the initial level, they start to teach students that there is many things that they need to do first before they start to write code. One of them, of course, to read and write a problem description. So if we want, for example, let's say we want to build a program to get exam grades for provided marks. So you provide a mark to the software, and he would tell you what is the grade of the student. So if the mark is less than 40, he fails. The grade is fail. And if it is less than 60, then he passed. If it is less than 80, then it's merit. If it is bigger than 80, then it is a distinction. Okay. So
yes.
Okay. So let's have a look here, since you already know the flow charts. Let me see here. We don't need to go here. So that's actually how he is able to do the flow chart here. So he starts, he output, enter a mark, enter your exam mark, and then he expects an input from the user. Once the user input something, is told in the word mark, in the variable mark, and then he start to test mark for its value. So if it is less than 40, if it is, so he would start to make an if statement here. If it is yes, then it will give, it will assign the grade to be fail, and then it will end the program here, and then it will output the grade. Okay. If it is not, then it will go to the next if statement. If it is not, it will go to the next if, and so on. If it is, if the three statements here, check statements here, none of them is true, then we will make the grade distinction, and then we will output. Okay, and here the code will end. So I think you are more aware of that, right?
Yes.
Okay, now let's have a look at the pseudo code for that. So the first step to write an algorithm to be able to solve a problem is to start with pseudocode. It is a kind of specific words and keywords that is fixed for us. It is similar to programming language, but in a simple form. Okay, so let's have a look here how it looks like. So if you see here, I would say, have a look here. So at first, we output to the screen or to the user, enter your exam mark. Then again, we take the exam mark, we store it to a variable called mark. And then we start to make if statements. You are aware of if statement in Python, right?
Yes.
Of course, Python is slightly different from pseudocode. And I mean, of course, I'm talking about how the if statement is and the variable is working, how it looks like. So normally we use colons in a Python, but here we don't use any colons. And for example, in pseudocode, we use the word then, as you can see here, but we don't do that in Python. We will have a look also in Python how it looks like. And most of the keywords that we use to write pseudocode is in capital letters, as you can see here, and also here, and else here. So you see, we use a lot of capital letters, okay? But at the end, it's all mostly the same. So we write one big if statement here, and then we slightly test for the mark. If it is less than 40, then we start to test here if it is less than 60. And if it is, then we will give the grade. There is no equal signs. We don't use equal sign in pseudocode. We assign pass to the variable grade, and then we will exit all this, and we will come here to print out whatever grade it is. But if not, we will continue running here. And if none of this all if statement, 3 if statement worked, then we will give the grade to be distinction, and we will also come here to print. Does this make any sense to you?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, good. So, okay, let me have a look then. So I can take you and we can write the Python code here. But since you're already familiar with Python code, I would take you to an advanced thing in a Python code, and let me try to understand if you are aware of that. Did you hear about 2D arrays before?
I've heard about it in C#, but not in Python.
Okay, so you know how the 2D arrays at least work or looks like. So you have here, you have rows like that.
Yes.
And you have columns like that. Okay.
Yes.
You know that arrays on most of the programming languages, it starts from 0. So
Okay.
you are aware of that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Sort of like this.
Yes, that's perfect. So I would say, so that's one row and that's one column, as we said. I would assume that one row represents a score of one whole class. So the score of the students of one whole class. I will for simplicity, I will not say that the class have 30 students. I assume it only have 4 students in the class. So in row 1, like that, I would say that this is the scores of all the students, the 4 students that we have. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see. Okay, so each cell here, I would say it represents a score of a single student. Okay, so and for the second row, that will be a separate class. And for the third row, that is the scores for another class. So we have, in this kind of 2D array, we have the scores of 3 classes. And each class have 4 students. Okay? Now, let us have a look at the next slide. Sorry, yeah. So let me see here. Let me try to clear that. Okay. Have you seen such a line of code before, that in one line you're able to achieve actually a lot of things just only by writing one line? Can you guess?
I haven't seen.
You haven't seen that before. Okay. So can you guess what this line is doing? Just a guess. It's difficult. I can sense that, and it's actually an advanced line. Okay, so forget about that line at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, but have a look here. I think you might have seen. Let me see here. I might try to minimize it. Maybe it's clearer. Okay. I think you have seen for loops before in Python. Did you?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So have you seen nested for loops before?
Is that you as in a for loop inside a for loop?
Yes, exactly. So that is an
Yes.
outer for loop, and inside the outer for loop, there is an inner for loop. Okay. And we are doing some code to achieve something in the inner for loop. So, okay. So actually these lines is equivalent to that one line. But of course, this method is more efficient and more shorter. Okay. So that kind of thing in Python, you can never see in Java. You can never see in old languages. Okay. So that's why I'm telling you that programming language is evolving by time. They try to write programming language that do things faster and shorter in just a few lines of code. Because at the end, if you think that, oh, the developer have ability, he's a human, he have ability to write maybe a few hundred codes per day. So the companies want to pay the programmer, but they want him to do more in the same amount of time. That's why this is evolving. Okay, now let's have a look. So here, what I'm doing here actually is I'm having a variable called sum. I initialize it to 0, and then these two for loops actually it goes through the rows and the columns of the array. The outer for loop goes through every row. So it starts with row 0, and then after this 1, and then after this 2. This is the 3 rows that we have. Okay. So okay. So this will go. So we said the outer loop will go through the rows, and then for every row, we will start to go through the elements in every row. So it means that we will go through. Let me put here. So, as we said, the outer loop will come here to the first row here, and then the inner loop will start to loop through every column here. Okay, it will go through every value here. Okay, and it will store that value in the variable called element. Okay. Okay, so that's the element that we have here. Let me try to clear that a bit. Okay. So that's the element here. Okay, and then I will start to build an if statement to check if the element is bigger than 4. So element is actually a student score. I want to check the score if it is bigger than 4. So I want to, and then if it is bigger than 4, I would like to take a note of it or count it. So I will add 1 to the variable sum. So if I go through all the 2D array and then pass through it the if statement, if the student score is bigger than 4, please count it, count 1. So by the end of this 4 lines, I will be able to have a sum or a count of all the students in the 3 classes that I have that have a score bigger than 4. So that is actually what this line is doing. Okay. Yes. Okay. So again, let me see here. Let me see here. Okay. So he will have an expression. We call this an expression. This is what we put in the outer loop. This we put in the inner loop, if you can see here. Okay, and that's the if statement that we have under the inner loop. This one. This is the condition that we have it. Okay, so only if the element is bigger than 4, then I will add 1 to the sum. I will add 1 and then I will sum all. So it will count all the students who have all the elements in the array that have value bigger than 4. And then I will have an output or a count. Okay, so is that clear to you? Does this make any
Yes.
sense to you?
Well, so is the code then counting the number of students with a score higher than 4, greater than 4?
Yes, exactly. This is a
Okay.
line of code that can achieve that. Yes.
Okay.
So if you know if you know the secret of how it works, then you are able to build complex statements like that. Okay.
Okay.
So as you see, all this is a part of loops. Here you put the expression that you want to test for, and then here you put whatever you want to count or add. You can change that to be 2 or 3 or whatever expression you want to do. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I would say let me know if you have any questions.
Okay.
Okay. So I will to me, I would say I am done with the trial class. So if you don't have any question, then we were able to summarize it. And tell me first, what do you think? Is that what I'm saying to you is clear to you? Am I
Yes.
explaining in a slow mode? Do I need to be faster, or how is it?
No, I understand.
You
I
understand?
think yes.
Yeah, but what about the speed of it? So would you like something to be more faster or more slower in normal classes?
Well, for this one, I was a bit confused, so I like how you explained it to me slowly. So I like the current pace.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I wish you good luck, and let's see how it
Thank
goes.
you.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.